Welcome everybody back to Spin a Rock. Today I'm here with my boys, Petey and Cal. Got the whole crew here hanging out once again, and we're going to be talking about the man himself, the impresario of greatness.
They call him the Great One.
Oh, excuse me, the Great One. The Great One himself. The man who practically runs half of DC himself, Bendis! So, as you guys know,
he like took a Great One and just laid it all over.
So, the Great One is the Great One has come up with another idea that he thinks is going to propel DC to the greatest levels. Okay, and in December, Superman 18 comes out, and Superman does what? He reveals himself. And I'm not talking about in the natural system kind. I'm talking about he reveals his identity to the world.
I'd rather him just reveal himself than his identity.
He may not be anatomically correct. We don't know. But the point is, he reveals himself to the world. You know what I'm trying to say?
Only Mars.
Beep that out.
What?
You're not supposed to.
You said bleep. I thought you said beep. Okay.
So anyway, remember. So what do you guys think about this whole thing that they're finally going to allow Superman to complete?
And utter rubbish.
Is it a dream? Is it real? Is it going to take?
No, one, it's Bendis. And Bendis' ego is too big for him to write anything that's not... It's like, I'm not... It reminds me of what happened when they decided that they were going to do the New 52 reboot. And J. Michael Straczynski was on the book. And once Straczynski found out that they were going to pretty much, do this reboot, he says, well, I'm not writing this. He's like, this is a waste of my time at the end of the day. I'm just going to stick with the Superman Earth 1 books. And he wrote like half the stories. I guess he left, he had like an outline or something for people to follow. And then, who was it, James Robinson? I can't remember who came on. But he came on and finished up the stories. So Bendis would not come here and do all this stuff if he thought this was just going to, this is going to end up in the waste bin within, a couple of years. And in the interview he gave to the New York Times, he specifically mentioned, look, the stuff that I did on Daredevil when I outed his identity, it was part of the storyline for the next 15 years. Which, for me, again, is like, I was a big Daredevil fan at the time. I really enjoyed the stories, and Bendis made it to the point I could not read that book anymore, had to put it down. But it is not good.
Shockingly, I agree with you on that one. Yeah. That whole Daredevil reveal, I did not like at all either.
Yeah. I don't think it's good from a writing standpoint that what you have done, other people still have to contend with for the next 15 years. Mm-hmm. Okay, and it wasn't like you came over here and you invented something new and they can play around with it. You gave him a problem, and this problem could not be sorted out for 15 years. Why? Because Bendis was still at Marvel. The second he left, they were like, okay, we can get rid of this now. But while he was there, like, no, there has to be long-reaching.
I like the wrong-reaching. I like that better.
Repercussions, for what's going on at this point. And we've already had this story. They just did this 2 years ago. Mm-hmm. Lois Lane out Superman. Okay, the whole world knows. The whole world knows that he's Superman. Then he lost his powers. He's running around with a buzz cut on a motorcycle, looking like Super Punisher. And then it was so bad they had to do something I can't remember if I've ever seen this before. They had to kill him off because it was so bad. They had to kill off Superman, bring back the original Superman. Then they had to merge the two of them and wipe away the whole storyline because it was that bad. Now, it's 2 years later. We're going to do it again? Mm-hmm. Okay, effectively we're saying we will have no Clark Kent any longer. Okay, because once Superman reveals himself to the world, what are you going to, either he's taking up a new secret identity, which is what they had to do afterwards. He had to take up a new secret identity, became a truck driver, all this other type of nonsense. Mm-hmm. Or, okay, you're going to, again, it's either he's just going to be Clark Kent flying around. No, don't call me Superman anymore. Clark is it, okay? Or you're just never going to see Clark Kent again because there's no reason. He can't be a reporter. He's going to walk in there and be like, hey guys, everybody's going to look at him. What are you talking about?
That's a good point. So what's your take on this, Petey? If it's not positive, don't say anything.
You just said you agreed about the Daredevil thing.
Yeah, well, that's Daredevil. We're talking about Superman. It's a whole different character, a whole different universe.
We've had glimpses of Superman losing his identity, obviously in whatever happened to the Man of Tomorrow. And you see, once they get rid of the Clark Kent identity, Clark is gone, right, in that story. And then, as Cal said, all the wackiness from the truth and that sort of thing. But this one is going differently. Instead of everyone saying, what a jerk, he didn't tell us, he lied to us. This one, they have an image where you see, like, I guess, point of view shot with the glasses, and you get Superman feats, and you have all the superheroes, like, almost welcoming it. Because I guess this comes from a bit where they took a picture of Lois kissing Superman.
Yeah.
And it's like, ooh, that bee, she's married and she's kissing Superman, and this, that, and the other.
Yeah, more rubbish.
So it's like, the idea to me is like, you see with a lot of other characters, and it worked better with the Hulk when Bruce Banner, Hulk was revealed to be Bruce Banner, and they were able to because the character was still, they were trying to find the identity and find what worked. And this sort of worked for that character, but at the same time, Bruce Banner gets pulled out of the book. Bendis is so hell-bent on saying he doesn't do fake-out stories, and this is what DC brought him here to do.
A fake-out story.
But it's like you can't...
Don't be so harsh,
You can't do that, because the secret identity is always the one that's most troubled by the editors, because the editors, over time, even Stan Lee was the fighter saying, we need more Spider-Man, less Peter Parker scenes. And it's like, you gotta have, it's not gonna be, obviously there's gonna be issues where you don't have the secret identity, but you gotta sort of settle back into having a secret identity.
They had a ratio formula, remember. I don't know if you heard about it, but they used to have a ratio formula, like, look, Superman must appear on so many pages. Okay, and then after that, you can go crazy with it. But we have to see Superman at least on so many pages, because and again, I thought that was good. I think that was a good job of an editor, because you'll have guys come over there and they're like, Clark who? And you have other guys over here who they'll be very happy just doing something with Clark inside of his apartment, mulling over, the meaning of life. And it's like, that's not what I bought the book for. Either one at the end of the day. The biggest problem, I don't get this guy, man. I really just don't get this guy. He did this, and he doesn't want to write secret identities. He doesn't really want to write superheroes either. He came over here with Superman. This has been like mission creep, okay? First, we're going to kill off the Kandorians. After the Kandorians, Lois and Superman, they don't have a conventional marriage. I can live in one city, he can live in another. It's fine. Okay, we don't have to be conventional, so he effectively gets her out of there. John Kent, he was a kid. No, I'm going to get him out of here. I'm going to age him, and now you're off to the future with the Legion of Superheroes. So you didn't want to write the super family. You didn't want to have to deal with any other Kryptonians, and you effectively got rid of them. But what's even worse is you don't want to write Superman. The moment that you out his identity, it becomes unstable. If you don't realize this going back to 1938, why you need Superman, Clark Kent, and that stable of people around him, because this dude as Superman is so freaking powerful. Mm-hmm. And the only thing that keeps him grounded is the connection that he has to the people in the stories. Jimmy Olsen, Perry White, Lois Lane, his son for that matter. There's nothing for him to do, just save people all day long.
What he's going to do is going to have some touching, same thing that Jeff Johns did. Have some touching moments where he gets to hang out with the characters. With Clark and Perry will have some sort of moment. But the thing is, they're having an ordinary, real moment, which is what the book always had, where you have because at the same time, you look at, Byrne's stuff and Byrne doing Clark Kent and saying the importance of him. When there's a two-parter where Superman's in trouble at the end of the one part, the next issue is all Superman. So it's always that thing where the main, the name on the title gets more of the billing. So you don't have to do this, and he's now telling us, oh, don't worry, he's going to be able to still be a reporter and not have his secret identity. Or we have something planned. Me and Greg Rucker have something planned. It's like, no, I don't believe that.
But it would be totally disingenuous for him to remain a reporter.
Hold on a second, gentlemen. I mean, probably we're being a little too harsh here.
Are you kidding me?
I'm just saying.
Do you see this guy?
We gotta let him go.
Do you think he cares? Look at him. Are we having fun? Are we having fun? We're having fun now, right?
Right. What is your angle?
Mars, goddammit.
No, we're not gonna fight over that. I've said I'm not gonna fight. I did some. I'm not gonna sit here.
Just bleep it up.
Listen.
Gosh.
So, the fact of the matter is most people will come to Superman comics looking for who? Superman. So basically all he's doing is giving the audience what they want.
He's giving them an image comic. No secret identities.
There's no secret identities. So basically that's what they want. People want to see Superman more. And hopefully that will reinvigorate the whole Superman comics.
It's already selling, I guess, okay. But that's
selling
the thing.
What they want, get it to the level of Batman.
The truth is, what they wanted was some media. They wanted media to catch this, and they didn't.
But the media did catch it. It's in the New York Times.
That's what he's saying now. He said in this thing, he doesn't do fake outs. He was like, hey, no one cared because it was like, oh, this is a fake out. And the same thing happened when I forget what happened with Spider-Man, what they were doing, but they were like, hey, we're doing another spider thing here. And then everyone's like, no, we don't care. Mm-hmm. He wants the news so they can try to bring some more money into it. And there's another boost so he can be like, look at all this interest I brought into it. But nobody really believes it. This is probably not going to be any sort of bump in sales because of this.
Because at the end of the day, again, Superman is not like Green Arrow. Okay, he's not the Hulk. Okay, this is a guy where the characters themselves are almost archetypical at this portion. Superman himself being based on an archetype. You don't have the Superman stories that you're going to be able to need to tell if you mess up that dynamic. Okay, you can't put Superman off to the side. You can't put Clark Kent off to the side. They're bloody well synonymous. I'm trying very hard to think of another character where the secret identity is just as equally popular, as the superhero. If I were to stop somebody and say, "Hey, Clark Kent," they know what the hell I'm talking about. Superman. Now, I may not be able to do that with another superhero, and you can't mess around with that dynamic. It's worked from Jump Street. You're coming in here now, and again, I'm like, what? Again, if I was an editor, I was like, what's the end goal in this? The end goal is that I'm going to have to undo what you've done for the last 2.5 years, 3 years, however it is, and get back to status quo. And that, for me, again, is really selfish on the part of a lot of these writers. They come in, this is like a sandbox. Everybody gets to play in it. You have to leave the toys in workable conditions so somebody else can come and have some enjoyment with them. You're coming over here and doing this, and then his big claim to fame with this is, well, look what I did with Daredevil for 15 years. I'm like, no, that was 15 years of hell for that character and anybody else who had to deal with it. And the second they could probably put it back in the box, they did it. Okay, this is fiction. It's not very hard to put it back in the box, but it couldn't be done while he was over there. It was just done 2 years ago, and they had to kill the character off. Which, again, was something that was talking
being second again. That goes into the Hollywood aspect of him not wanting to be original, saying, hey, this is how I'm going to do it, and it's going to be different, it's going to work. And there's no proof in that happening. There's no proof in doing anything like that, because this is such a change that it would be like, let him do it. And, look, he's going to do another 50 issues of this, maybe another 5 years of this.
Right, but you know what? But gentlemen, the problem, gentlemen, is that DC is smart, and I can't imagine that they're not doing this for a reason. There has to be something there has to be an impetus, and probably the impetus is that they want to increase the sales.
I want
of
to use
Superman.
the word.
I can tell you why they're doing it.
Why are they doing it?
I want to say that they're P-whipped. I want to say that. That's what I want. Can I say the word?
No, you can't.
What does the P stand for?
Oh, no. By Bendis?
B-whipped. They're Bendis.
The comics have been selling, right? His comics have been selling.
Must be some good B. I gotta go to DC. What is it made of gold? What's going on here?
Give me my own. That's the thing. He's already got his own sector of DC. Why does he need to do this? Why can't he just tell stories? That's
because he can't tell stories.
Oh well.
Look, bottom line is DC
Mario, what is your answer to that?
Yo,
DC has
calling my name.
DC already has a plan where they're going to be replacing their top tier characters with new guys. The same stuff that Marvel did. So they're already telling us that Batman's going to be replaced with Luke Fox. So it's going to be Black Batman.
Lucius Fox.
Okay, and then supposedly
who's a Redeemer Batman? Who's that weird Batman that's holding him up?
That's
in the air?
that's a different.
Azrael.
That's from like the dark multiverse. Something totally different.
There's so many Batman titles. It's hard to keep track of everything.
No, and then with Superman,
Mars, I had to ask that.
Superman is going to be replaced.
I didn't read it. I was like, this is ridiculous.
Supposedly, Superman is going to be replaced by his son, John Kent. That's supposed to be coming down the pike. Wonder Woman, my best guess is she'll be replaced by Wonder Girl, Cassie, and maybe have some other people do it. Now, the thing is, DC did this already, but they did this with their second, third tier characters, where you had Green Lantern and Hal Jordan was, put to the side, and we had Kyle Rayner. And they really held on to that. It was 10 years before they finally brought back Hal Jordan. But the guys who wanted him back were like, they did not give up. They were young enough. They were like, no, we can dig in on this. We've got decades to keep moaning and bitching about this one. And the same thing, Oliver Queen. Oliver Queen was dead. He was effectively dead. Yeah. Connor Hawke was Green Arrow. They brought him back. With the Marvel stuff, it was always a little bit. Marvel stuff was, I thought, executed a wee bit better because you actually had people they were putting into the roles who didn't just come from out of nowhere. You had Tony Stark. Tony Stark, succumbs to alcoholism, and who takes over? Rhodey. But Rhodey's been a fixture in the stories for the longest period of time, and I'm pretty certain most people reading wasn't something that was foreign to them. Like, I wonder what Rhodey would be like in the suit. And so you were able to do that and have a nice transition, and then of course the transition back. Everybody still loves Rhodey in the suit, so eventually, some time passes. He gets the War Machine suit. Fine. You have Thor with Beta Ray Bill, but. Everybody, the thing is, it was executed in a manner that nobody hated Bill to the point that you could still
hated him.
You hated him?
Yeah, hated him.
I'm sorry about that. But anyway, Bill became a viable character.
Yeah, I ripped that comic.
A lot of that stuff. A lot of that stuff that they came over. The DC stuff, Marvel used to have a good hand on it. Then they started doing stuff with Superior Spider-Man and Jane Foster Thor, which is like, okay, I have no idea where you guys are going. So that's where it's coming down the pike. Mm-hmm. But this just leads me to believe that Bendis, at the end of the day, is just a name. Okay, he's attached to these. Mm-hmm. He's attached to this particular character and these stories, and there's no real ending. There's no real payoff to any of this. Just read it, enjoy it for what it is. We're gonna, give you out some tosses and turns and twists and so on and so forth. And when I really come up with a good idea, I'm gonna leave DC. I'm gonna go to Image, and I'll see you guys. I'll see you guys then. I'll see you guys then.
And this goes back to Bendis. This is definitely another one shot because they want to basically bring.
He's part of the problem. He's part of the problem, and I'm glad we got back to Bendis. He's part of the problem in that you have guys who come over, and they're these creators. They don't want to create anything new at Marvel or DC. They want to own their own stuff. So any of those ideas, they're going to save it, and they're going to try it with Image. Now, a lot of times these guys save those ideas for Image. It doesn't really jump off at Image. Okay, Image can't really give them the push or what people like. So they don't really come to create any new characters, or they'll take an older character, maybe revitalize it, and that guy gets hot. But they're not coming over there and really putting in. Bendis is coming right now and saying this is his best work. Okay, these are his best ideas for Superman. I'd be, you've got to be kidding me at the end of the day. So he's already holding back. Okay, and what PD had told me already, he's gonna when he finally gets a hot idea, he's gonna take it over to Image, try to become a founder over there, and then what happens? We get a twice told tale or a thrice told tale for Superman. But imagine again, you're a kid. Okay, somebody's gonna come over here like, here you go, son, start with this. The hell? No, it's no way to start in. Maybe, the whole thing with Batman being black, that might be a better thing to get a kid interested. But even then, it becomes like, well, what?
But that's not even like a legit thing. What do you think, PD? Like bringing in Batman being black, so it's another one-shot thing just to get it in. You're gonna rile up some people on the market.
Rhodey got me reading Iron Man. What happened with the whole thing with Beta Ray Bill? Got me reading Thor. The only problem was once Walter Simonson was gone, I was gone.
Well, the thing is that Bendis is talking as if this is real, and that's the thing. The one thing that they're missing is that you could do stories where this is the end of the Fantastic Four or Spider-Man No More, and for the readers, they could be like, oh my gosh, they get to it, the end, and like he can't quit. And then next, there's an issue after that. When you get to that point where you're like, you know what, I don't believe it, then you as the reader have to leave. The writers are turning in is like, no, I have to keep that guy. So when I do this, it's real. When Spider-Man loses, he gives up his identity. We're gonna explore this for all the time. Bendis is the guy who killed. So he was the character who killed Peter Parker in Ultimate Universe, and this was like the flagship title of the thing. It's like saying, you know what, but this will make a better story, and it's different when you have someone like, say, in Alpha Flight, you have Guardian, who there's not much to his character when they took him out, but it built so much other stuff around the other characters. When you kill sort of Spider-Man and say, there should be a thing of where you're fearful of the death of the character, but at the same time, when you say, you know what, I want to do this permanent change to something where there's going to be the turnover of readers, of art, of the creators, and saying, you know what, this is for you. This is what you got to do with it. And it turns into, sorry to say, and this is not a critique on Grant Morrison's Doom Patrol.
It is.
But it's hard for people to follow Grant Morrison's Doom Patrol because they're like saying, hey, that's not him. They're like, no, he's doing all the weird characters. It's like, no, but it's not as good. It's like,
I heard it's better if you read it while you're on LSD. Then it makes a whole bunch of sense.
It's the 2001 Space Odyssey, the biggest trip.
Ecstasy.
What I'm saying, the Kiss Me Mala? Like nobody's like, you can't when you're in that thing with a creator, and that's the thing, you're buying it for the bits and for the creativity. But then when you go to the next one, they're not going to give you. You're not going to give you those allowances.
Yeah, you can't. You can come over. But I think Morrison was better at that. I think Morrison had an understanding that look, the wackiness that I can do here on Doom Patrol, and these are already wacky characters to begin with.
Yes.
Okay. But the wackiness that I can do here with these characters, I don't think he was ever to the point where he was like, okay, I can bring that over to Superman. He's like, no, these are two totally different things. Mm-hmm. I appreciated his approach. He said when he was doing Superman, he would listen to all this Zen music. We try to be in this spiritual
Ooh,
place.
Morrison.
Morrison. When he was doing Batman, he was listening to like, metal and this hard edge stuff to try to do that. Now I don't know how effective that may have been for the story writing, but at the least as a writer, he understood these are two, and a lot of but that's old school writing. Where if you had someone like Archie Goodwin or Walt Simonson, if Walt Simonson writes the New Gods, he's like, okay, who are the New Gods? Okay, this is more like spacefaring, cosmic type stories. Great. If Walt Simonson then came over and wrote an issue of Daredevil, he was like, okay, what's this? Okay, this guy's an attorney by day, vigilante by night. He didn't come over and try to make Daredevil, you know what, I'm going to send Daredevil into space now, and I'm going to give him some space powers. It's like, no. He didn't come over and say, well, this is the stuff that I like and trying to do good, and that's what I'm going to do
But you see, the
Daredevil.
audience is liking some of those things. I mean, we're not even talking about comic readers. Some of these things are translating into movies where the audience are now being defined by what the characters do there. And so they're trying to bring them into
But then
they're trying to make,
where's that in Superman?
Yeah.
There's no
Well,
Superman movies. There's like,
They
there's
can't
nothing
make
to pull in.
because they
they
want
have not been able to make an effective
because
Superman
they haven't
movie.
they're not doing really Clark Kent in the movies right now. They did in the last 2
And none of
movies.
it's
They're
working.
making him as Superman.
None of it's working.
And
He,
that's
was,
what
he, was, he wasn't even Clark Kent in Man of Steel until the end of the movie.
Okay,
But
so
it's
he wasn't.
not working. None of that's selling, so there's no comparison to make
But
to say they're doing
but
that.
I guess what's going
There's
on,
no
they're
comparison.
doing a survey out there and saying, hey, what
You
do
say
people
they
want
did
to
a
see?
focus group?
Of course they do.
Focus group.
I know they're doing
They
focus
just sort of-
group.
they just put it
And
together
what's that
and say,
big
this
lurching
is
thing
it.
that we still haven't wrapped up yet?
What?
We still haven't wrapped up Doomsday Clock. And Doomsday Clock was supposed to.
We can't get into
That was supposed to scour a whole bunch of this mess.
That's going to be another
I thought
Christmas
Doomsday
miracle.
Clock was supposed to be the new
Doomsday-
crisis in essence of the.
It
the
was. And
what
then
happened?
what happened? Two things happened with
It was
Doomsday Clock that
late.
should not
It
have
was
happened.
late.
Bendis
One-
came in.
Late.
First, it was late. That was
It
the
was very
problem.
late.
And then Bendis came in. Okay, this guy over here, and he was like, "Hey, what's going on, guys? What's going on? It's late. Oh, that means there's room for me. There's room for me. We're gonna have some fun, Jeff Johns. We're gonna have some fun. We're gonna have some fun."
Don't make him sound like Uncle Fester, okay, please.
You're the one who's called
Look,
them that.
I am certain if I met Bendis,
You're trying to torpedo my opportunities, aren't you?
What? You just said that. No one else in this show said that.
I
We're
am
saying
certain-
that
He
you
made
said-
him sound like
you
him.
said, no, you're saying that you was said. Like, I didn't say
You're
that.
torpedoing my opportunities.
I am
bro.
certain
that
if
you
I
just
met
brought
You're
it up.
Bendis,
torpedoing my opportunities, BD.
again,
You and I are gonna have to start fighting because it's clearly it's not working out.
I'm certain if I met Bendis, okay, then he'd probably be a cool cat. But this guy's decision in terms of his writing, okay, have frustrated me. I mean, and I've told this about Pete. I was a hardcore Daredevil fan. Do you know what it is to be a hardcore fan and somebody starts writing the book to the point you're like, you know what, I can't read this anymore? Do you know how far somebody has to go? And I was still reading the book. He came on, it was like 25 issues I read. By the time I got to what was issue number 50, like his 25th issue, literally I had to just say, no, I can't do this anymore. And I have never gone back to Daredevil since. I don't collect it anymore. I don't regularly read it any longer. Okay, and now I'm like, okay, now you're gonna come after Superman? Okay, my big fave at this point. And I'm like, what are you planning on doing with this? You know,
Whatever DC
All
lets
right.
him do.
No, I don't have to. That's the thing. You brought up Rhodey. Cal, you like Lord.
not
You ready
you.
to like Lord?
You've been talking about manga and
He brought up
percentages.
Rhodey. We talk about what's possibly going to happen. We've talked about what's probably going to happen with Batman, and we talk about Walt Simonson's Thor. Now the big difference with the other two is that Rhodey had a run as Iron Man,
Yes.
and then at some point they decided to spin him off to his own character, and then that, for whatever, sometimes people say some of that could have sold decently, who knows? But the thing is that those ideas sort of work, right? And it isn't encroaching too much on Tony Stark. When Thor happened, the difference is almost like there's something where someone takes on what the other person did and say, now I do it. That doesn't mean it's done. Like if someone takes in, like I guess like the Image guys doing what the Marvel guys did, but doing it badly. You can't look at the fact that Walt Simonson took Thor that was in the gutter, and at the same time, Stan and Jack kind of got rid of Don Blake, because Don Blake was sort of just a shell.
Yeah.
And at the same time, they got rid of Jane Foster. So the whole supporting angle was kind of gone, and she was only like a romantic sort of thing. So when he did it and said, you know what, it's not really that strong of a character, let's pull him out. They pull him out, and I'm okay with them giving the new character, because those sort of work, the Eric Masterson or the later character that Dan Jurgens did. The problem is when you say, you know what, this hair metal Thor, Tom DeFalco gave him to. Then it's like, if you're going to say Captain America, and I have to accept it, I was like, maybe I could have accepted it, but then you had the hair guy from the future get it. So then at that point, it's like you're not doing what Walt Simonson did. Walt Simonson said, all right, here's something where you say it's totally wrong for Beta Ray Bill to have the hammer because he's a villain. And he's like, no, then you find out, oh, I missed all the key points that he's fighting for something. And he looks at Thor as a demon. He's like, Thor, this demon. And he's like, why would he turn into that form to fight me? And next thing you know, he doesn't pick up the hammer. It's a thing where he taps it so it's not taking away from Thor's thunder. And at the same time, when Cap does it, he's like, hey, you need this. You need. And then in the movie, even more, he fights better than Fat Thor. So we got to get to Thor. There's another bit we got to get to Thor. But the aspect is that these are moments where you have, it still keeps the uniqueness of it. With Rhodey, you had Tony Stark, succumb to alcoholism. And Rhodey does a heroic thing, whether we know if he knows how to use the armor or not, he comes in there and he takes up the mantle. And then when Tony comes back, the trade-off is so interesting because he's in the old armor. He has some bad feelings about what he did and what he left the role, and he understands what Rhodey has been. I've been doing it, and now you're just gonna come steal my thunder because you've done that. And it's like, no, I'm not that. And they're like, all right, we got the both of them. But this is just like, hey, I'm Bendis. I'm doing something new when it's not new, and watch it. It's gonna be good. And you're gonna do the Mark Miller scaring the fans. The fans are like, "Oh, he said he's gonna work it out. He's gonna be so."
So, Petey, I'm gonna ask you. I'm
gonna buy it.
I
don't do fake outs.
What we gotta do? Look. Are we gonna? Let's get to the point. Has Bendis run so far? And Bendis's run.
I like Bendis.
And Bendis' run on DC, has it been successful? And I guess the answer is yes.
It's been okay.
He's brought in.
I don't think it's as big as
he's brought in new characters, the Wonder Twins. He's done Millennial.
These are all bad points.
Yes.
These are all bad points.
But the fact of the matter is, some of those comics are selling.
Bendis' comic run. I'm sorry. Bendis' comic run, okay, on Superman is good enough that they're not going to pull him off the book. Okay, Superman numbers, I don't know, so long as Superman numbers are stable, or not even stable, like healthy. If, let's say Batman's selling 60,000.
Yeah, 200,000.
Okay, no.
Yeah, they're selling, if you look at the numbers, it's like 100.
You're talking about the first issue.
Yeah, I'm talking.
Even if that.
If you look at it, Batman Who Laughs was doing like 150,000.
No, let's say Batman issues are selling like a good number would be like 80,000 copies.
I'm going to have to pull out the
first issue you're talking about.
No, let's say Batman's selling about 80,000 copies. Okay, if Bendis is selling 40, 50,000 copies on Superman, they're not pulling them off to start something else. The numbers are healthy. That's fine. Okay, your most popular book. Okay, if you're getting like 60% of your most popular book, everybody's going to be happy with that. Now, that's just Bendis being on the books. In terms of the writing and the stories, and I think what is it? I think you said he's like this is like 50 stories he's put in. Nothing's happened. There haven't been any new characters.
They the Rogel Czar, right? They finally.
Whatever, man.
Come on, he did.
They did. We still don't know anything about this dude. When they ended it, they were like, he's Kryptonian. I was like, he's Kryptonian, and you expect to hear all this backstory? There was nothing. He's just sitting in a pool of Jello now in some like makeshift Phantom Zone, and that's pretty much the end of it. And all that stuff had to be put to the side. Now, why? Because they're getting rid of Superman for John Kent. They're gonna reveal this identity. We got a. He's gonna have some. And I thought they were doing some stuff that was like hearkening back to things that bring people in. Because he had this flagship character of his own, Naomi, and she was making a guest appearance, in Action Comics. I was like, okay, let's see how that goes. There's no way that can go anywhere. December, he's supposed to be outing himself. And when he outs himself, it's just going to be Bendis' talky stuff. There are going to be some guys, oh, this is great. And then there are going to be other guys, they're going to sit over here, and it's going to be pages of these guys just having a conversation about how they feel about Superman outing himself. And there's nothing else going to happen of it. The worst thing about it is that we know this can't be maintained. It can't be maintained. So, and especially for readership. Anytime I hear one of these guys, I'm really tired of hearing this. Anytime some guys, I'm going to give it a chance. Shut the up. Okay, you are what's wrong with this right over here. Okay? You're going to give what a chance? You have no foresight?
Language.
I never swore. Okay, I put the pause in there.
But we know what you meant.
Yeah, and those guys out there know what I mean too. And if I ever catch up to you,
just clean out your language, though.
One of the things we learn in school when it comes to reading and literature is what we're supposed to be able to make predictions. We're not supposed to go into this like empty vessels, okay? Just vapid readers and just like, I'm going to see what comes to me. They would love that. Because then you've already spent all the money and now you're like, oh, I'm unhappy with it. Well, it's too late. Now I got the money. You're supposed to be able to look at this and make predictions based on what's being given to you as to whether or not this is something you're going to enjoy, whether or not you think this can be a suitable enough story, and not just the name, be it Superman or Bendis, just to come in and, oh, I'm just going to throw some money at this now. I can understand if it's free. Okay,
So
go ahead.
What are you going to say, PD?
I'm just going to add to what you were saying and correct you on the actual sales. Because whatever.
Look, I'm looking right here. I got a sales baby. You want to bring it up? We can bring it up right now.
Yeah, let me see. You didn't jump and say anything.
I didn't want
what you thought it was.
I'm going to say to you that the New 52 happened. Rebirth happened. Nothing major happened at DC. Titles were either canceled or new titles were created. But when Bendis came on, what happened? They got rid of a ton of jobs. And they had to take Jeff Johns, they had to take his title away from him because they're like, hey, you just collecting your monthly salary, your monthly on the book, because that's good enough. You're getting the top rate. So they had to cut things at the same time he was coming. So they put too much in it. I don't feel that they should have went that far with him. I think they should have given him a short
How would they have
lease.
afford to keep him if he wasn't able to do that?
Look, the thing
They were
is
retooling.
the same like John Romita Jr. He was working on one title. And then they asked him to do another title. Why do they have to give him 3 million titles?
Well, Bendis wanted more. Clearly, they were going.
No,
the only way they were going to move him from Marvel.
The
only way they were going to move him from Marvel was them to get the numbers.
What,
Listen,
so
we're being
I'm saying
we're beating the dead horse here.
Is if they had
The
to
proof is
cancel
not in the pudding.
and fire people because of that and shift DC around when they didn't have to. They had the New 52 thing, sales went down afterwards, they had the special Batman projects, and then they had the Rebirth. All of those things, and then they had Doomsday Clock. So all this stuff is to their, and the fact that the delays means that the money that they were making on Doomsday Clock was paying for these delays. They were okay with the money they got. When Bendis comes on there, that destroys the whole thing, and they're firing people. That's what to say that, hey, we're not. And then they go into the
You're
paper.
making it sound like Bendis is the one firing anybody, and I take offense to that.
I said
we're not
DC
saying that.
is restructuring the money so they can deal with putting all this money into Bendis.
Exactly.
You know what? So let's just wrap up this hate-filled discussion on Bendis, okay? Because that's basically what it comes out to.
We didn't kill him when this first came out.
No, we
We
didn't.
said, hey, this will be good for sales.
Yes, we did.
We didn't expect him to give his own DC Animals, but you're supposed to read that instead of DC Animals.
We did
He's
not.
competing against other movements at DC.
Listen,
Now he's like saying, you know what? I'm tired of Superman. I'm tired of
This
Clark Kent,
pity
even though
party-
he
We're
didn't
tired of
come in.
Bendis, and we hope he burns in hell.
No, we do not. Bendis, you know my number. Okay? Spin a rack. As we said today, we all are in agreement here that Bendis,
Sucks.
we're going to give him a chance and see
we gave him a chance.
we're going to give him a chance and see how
Just
this story
like
opens
Chappelle
up.
gave Trump a chance, we gave him a chance.
Perfect
And now
analogy.
look at
And
it.
now 50 issues in, it's time to impeach Bendis.
His numbers are
We
still
are
doing, as you were
Bendis.
just seeing. His numbers are still going
You're
on.
kidding me. Trump has a robust economy. We got to get him out. You got to get him
Impeach
out.
Bendis. He's the drug dealer.
That's
Spin a
right.
rack out.
The intelligent hoodlum.
You guys are too much, man.
We didn't go that far at the end.
That's
now we're going.
Yeah, nice try here, Mario. Nice try.